Hi guys, Scott here from Outlaw Garage. Today we're here with the perfect year Porsche 911, a 1974, but we are debunking the myth of the Sportomatic.
Was up in Sydney, made the decision over a weekend and drove it back down to Melbourne on the Monday or Tuesday, I think. So both my cars I've got from Sydney, which is kind of nice. I think you and I discussed the fact that it's nice to have a car in Melbourne that people think of as your car.
It's not a local car, so it's your car.
Exactly. But of course they've lived, many lives before you.
Yeah.
And perhaps they will after you.
Yeah.
But it's nice to,
and
be associated with it.
we should mention, you've got a Targa.
It's a Sporto as
78.
well. 78 Targa, in Grand Prix white, but with a lot of black trim. So a very different looking car, which is also interesting because even though they're only 4 years apart, this is 1974. This reads as I think as a long hood, a 73 or earlier, with all the bright work. Really, all they changed was the impact bumpers. You can see a lot of the old car in there, I think, whereas the 78 feels to me like a full-on 80s car. Very sort of a lot of black. A little bit more muscly, and certainly with the ducktail I put on the Targa as well, a lot different.
I think a ducktail looks perfect on a Targa. Now, were you specifically looking for this, or did you get distracted by the blinding colour that it is, one of my favourite colours, and then just go, I have to buy that because the colour?
All of that. So I was perfectly happy with my 78 Targa, and
you race it, you take it on track.
I've taken it on the track because I wanted to see what that was like. There was a little bit of work that was required after it had been on the track, like we upgraded the bushes and the sway bar and had to rebuild the distributor and etc. But so I drive my car every day. So the Targa is fully registered and I drive it every day. My old little Mercedes that I had just sits out on the street now. So no, it wasn't the mission to buy another car, but I collect watches as well, and strangely enough, I've never owned a 1974, which is my birth year watch. And I hadn't thought about it with the car. Anyway, so I'm minding my own business, and on Facebook, one of the Facebook groups, suddenly up pops a 1974 Sportomatic looking like that. I wasn't overly familiar with the colour before, ice cream metallic. Now, I'm probably completely wrong, and I've heard these from different videos, etc. So I'm not an expert, but I thought I heard that maybe 74 and the G series was the first metallic painted cars. Maybe. I'm not sure, and then also ice cream metallic, couple of years, but again, I'm not sure that's accurate. But it's not a usual colour that you see. Obviously, your whites, black, red, silver. Absolutely. But and after owning my first car, I think it's nice for the second car to be something completely different and such a colour. And of course, awesome Porsche is so well known for its colours. So you think, why am I driving around a white car? Not that there's anything wrong with a white car. It's a great colour, but this came along, birth year.
It's unique, the colour.
The colour's amazing, and the fact that it was I like the idea that it had been taken back to bare metal and resprayed about a year ago.
That's a brilliant job.
It's a great job. So very happy with that. And look, lots of little things that you start thinking about as you do, but also one thing I learned from the first car is you drive it for a month and suddenly some of the things that you were thinking about go away. You're either happy with them or you get used to them or they just disappear.
Because the previous owner had a bit of a collection?
Yeah, so apparently he had a long hood and a turbo and this. And I'd suggest this was the odd man out being a Sporto.
Talking about the bright work on the car earlier, these mirrors, and definitely I guess we have a similar year Targa to yourself.
Right.
Same white, same black, black hoop. And I originally did want one where it had the brushed hoop.
Yes.
But I don't actually mind the black. No. But then having a car which is blacked on all the bright work and then a car which has got all the chrome and the bright work with it is... I think it's a nice touch.
I like there to be, uniformity. So obviously there's a lot of chrome and bright work on the car, and so the single mirror I think works with that perfectly and is very, very 60s and a hangover from the Longwoods. Whereas yes, the Targa I think has all of the black, and so for me the roll bar needs to be black.
Oh yes.
So it kind of that's the matching part.
Yeah.
And again, having the two cars that again they read completely differently.
Yeah.
Now, one thing that's definitely happened on this car, which again I've only picked up on in say the last couple of weeks, is at some stage it's been widened at the back. So
yeah, it's got and I didn't notice that the first time I saw the car,
Yeah.
but it's got a little bit of a flare, hasn't
absolutely, yeah, exactly. And so I think in its life,
Tapped it, all metal. It's just been flared out.
yeah, when I
Yeah,
saw,
okay.
I've actually seen some footage of the bare metal, and yes, it's all metal.
Yeah.
But what I found interesting was, I think in its life, so this was delivered as a 1974, in December 1974 as a 911S, which is what it is. But I think in its life, someone's turned it into a Carrera 1974,
Yeah.
which had the flare at the back,
Yeah.
which had the Carrera decal down the side. It's not that much different, really. Obviously, the engine would be different in a Carrera 2.7.
Yep.
But in the 911S 2.7, it would have been more straight down the sides. But I reckon, and I can see why someone would have done that. But
Yeah, it is just there is a flare, isn't there?
yeah, and so something I'm thinking about, which I've discussed with you yesterday, is maybe I want bigger wheels all round. So instead of 6s and 7s, which this is, maybe go to 7s and 8s,
Just
which
to
will
fill
just
it
fill
out
that
a
out a
little
little
bit
bit. And if I'm going to do that, I'm thinking, do I go, as you and I discussed, do I go a gold wheel? Because I think gold and this ice cream metallic will look pretty special. And I got that from the tag on the badge on the back.
Yeah, that's
I never thought that you should mix gold and silver, but when I put that badge on and you can see that, I thought, you know what, that
Yeah.
could look really good.
yeah,
But it's one of those things.
yeah. It's just a good option to
Think about,
yeah.
Yeah,
Perfect
there's
colour.
nothing wrong with the way it looks at the moment.
Oh, absolutely not. We'll go for a spin. I've never been in a Sportomatic or the Sporto
I'm sure,
before.
I'm sure you've been in plenty of Porsches. I'm sure it'll be like that.
But yeah, but not. I've done the whole Tiptronic 993.
Yeah.
But not a Sporto.
Yep.
I'm interested to see how this goes
Yeah.
because you take the other one out on track.
Yep.
And I've seen how these zip along as
Yep.
well. And let's talk about it in the car because I've got some interesting
I've got
thoughts.
some good mates who aren't happy being beaten off the mark by a Sporto.
So
They know
let's-
who they are.
Yeah, let's go for a spin.
All right.
Just before we go for a spin,
Yeah.
we're having a look at the
Because it's being very temperamental, yes. It's
being a little bit temperamental.
Yeah, that's okay. So,
So
this is one of the Sportomatic micro switches. So as you can see, as soon as you touch the gear stick, the contacts down in there move around. They play, right? Yeah.
Move the stick, the contacts, just the copper contacts.
Yep. So
Yeah,
that's in
okay.
gear.
Yeah.
That's in neutral. That's in gear.
Ah.
And I guess the big thing with a Sporto that manual drivers are not used to is you can't rest your hand on the gear stick.
Yeah.
As soon as you do, you put it into neutral. So if you're accelerating and you just rest your hand on there, your revs are just going to fly right up.
Ah.
So the only time you touch the stick is when you've got your foot off the accelerator and then you put it into gear and then you accelerate again. So again, looking at the gears, you've got park, reverse, low, drive 3 and drive 4.
Yeah.
Right?
Okay.
So low is actually first gear.
Okay.
Drive is second gear, third, fourth. Right? And then you've got your park and your reverse. So, and every time you
And
touch
of course, no clutch.
and no clutch, so yeah, 2 pedals. So the point is, as soon as you touch the gear stick, it goes into neutral.
Wow.
Yeah. And look, I believe that's only one of a number of micro switches that go into this whole mechanism,
Yeah.
which does make it temperamental until you've driven the car for a year or so and you've worked out some of those bugs, which I did in the Targa as well.
Yeah. Okay.
If you pull the switch up, you can see you've got your contacts in there, but I think you've got other contacts as well. And there's actually a little bit of play between here and here, and I'm sure that all comes into play as well with how it works.
Yeah. Okay, so we're in the Sporto. First observations are, other than the little tinkering that
again, I've noticed the more I drive the two cars, the first thing I noticed day one was this is a raspier sort of sounding car. It's a 2.7. Obviously the Targa's a 3.0. So generally you're going to be revving, I think, higher in this car than maybe you do in that car.
Yeah, there's definitely a higher pitch tone that comes from the rear, where with a 3 litre you get a bit more of a lower gurgle. With this you get a higher pitch. And
then also I was joking with you earlier about some of my mates who wonder why I beat them off the lights in a Sporto.
Yeah.
But in that scenario I'm in the 3 litre and they're in a 3.2. This is a 2.7. And with that engine progression though also comes added weight. So this is I believe a lighter car than the 3, and the 3 is a lighter car than the 3.2.
Yeah.
So I think that all comes into play. So we're in first, second.
Because it picks up.
Oh yeah, it's got. So I mean, I don't think it's necessarily a Sporto thing, but both of my cars have great acceleration up into 3.5, and then they've got great even better acceleration from 3.5. And I feel that in this car as well. So all right, talking about the Sporto, it was made for the American market.
Yeah.
And one of the marketing things was in the city, you can drive around in drive on the gear stick, or essentially second gear all the time, up to 70 kilometers an hour.
And you can pull off virtually in second, can you?
You can pull up at the lights and remain in second, and you can sit at the lights in second, and you can pull away in second, and you can drive around in second, or in drive.
So for city driving,
exactly,
easy.
And look, the Sporto was around for 11 years, I believe, or more. I thought it was sort of from 65 to 78, if I'm not wrong, but a long time. So it was something that worked for them, and certainly worked for the market, and also, the way I think about it is, it's almost like it's come full circle with Tiptronic now, where you've got your gear selectors on your paddles.
Yeah, because it does feel like Tiptronic. At least you have a shifter. So
Which
you
is fun.
don't have a clutch.
Yeah.
You have a shifter, so you got to change gears.
Yeah.
Then they went to Tiptronic and Auto, where you just had that clunk in the middle, and it was drive and park, and that was it.
Yeah.
Which is not, in my mind, not an engaging experience.
Fair enough. Yeah.
But then when you go to tip and you've got it on your paddles, you've got the same kind of experience as you would do with changing gears.
Yeah.
But it's still an auto.
Yeah. Yeah, that's right. And so at the moment, I guess this is a good experience. We're in the middle of Richmond, and we're driving around, and we're just in drive or second gear the whole time. So that's essentially what it was developed for.
Yeah.
But when we get around the corner and go up by the Yarra, maybe we'll be able to move through the gears a lot more, and that's kind of what it's for.
So all you have to do when you're driving, all you got to do is off the accelerator, and then change gear,
and then back on the accelerator. Exactly.
Back on.
Yeah. And again, the big thing is, and it took me a while to get used to it, and the only way I could do it, not touching the gear stick all the time, just have 2 hands on the wheel. So 2 hands on the wheel at any time until we're accelerating, foot off, up into third, and then we're away again. That's another thing to talk about with the Sporto is they only came in 4 and 3 speeds. So
and this is
a 4-speed.
Yeah.
So the reason I mention that is on the track, essentially I was just getting around in second and third gear. I wasn't getting up, so I was going up to about 170 kilometers an hour, and there was no point going into fourth gear. That wasn't giving me any more acceleration or speed. So I was just basically getting around Sandown in second and third. Fourth in this car, and certainly maybe because it's a Sporto, it's essentially for the freeway. It's almost like overdrive. It's almost like cruising sort of stuff, just to maintain your speed but lower your revs.
Yeah.
And I've driven both cars from Sydney. I've driven the Targa to and from Sydney a few times, and essentially you're in fourth gear and you're still revving at about 2800 revs the entire way. So you're going through a lot of petrol. That's another thing is I don't know about your cars, but I go through fuel. Yeah, and then I was really surprised because modern cars like my little Mercedes is a 50 litre tank. I was surprised to learn these were 80 litre tanks, and I was still getting through it. Yeah.
But then when you drove through there, as you're changing gears,
you still got to time it right.
Yeah, if I didn't know it was a Sporto, you'd just be like, oh well, it's a manual.
Yes, I agree. I agree. So to come back to what we're discussing now, I've again my mates, my close car mates, a couple of them are like, you know, essentially saying, why aren't you driving a manual? Why are you driving a Sporto? The fact is, while I learned to drive on a manual, I haven't driven a manual in 30 something years, right?
Yeah.
Okay, so that's a reality.
Yeah.
And then also, I wasn't a car guy. I liked my little Mercedes. I was happy.
Yeah, okay.
Right? And before that, I had a Subaru, a GT automatic, and so I was happy with that.
Yeah.
It's only because I'm, you know, having a midlife crisis that, that's interesting. It's only because that's the Sporto on that angle. And that's what I mucked around with last time. So I'm having a midlife crisis, and I'm like, well, I want to drive a beautiful car. So how do I do that?
Oh, absolutely. And I think that falls into that bracket of in 10, 20 years time that people will still want to drive a beautiful car.
Yeah.
And like you said, well, how do they do that?
Yeah.
And that is how they do that.
Exactly. Well, it's one way, absolutely. And look, I drove in my hunt for, when I decided I want to get a classic car, I drove some different cars, like a BMW 2002 automatic.
Yep.
It was like driving, I don't know, like a saloon. It just rolled around, and you know, I think it looks cool.
Yeah,
I love it stance, but there are, I'd say most cars, unless they're manual, you're missing out on the experience. Whereas with this car, I think you're still getting pretty close to 100% of the experience. It has the makings of a forever car.
Oh yeah.
You know, it's obviously birth year, it's a great colour, it's a coupe. All of these, it's my second car, so I've obviously had the experience of the first car, and I've decided Porsches are for me.
Yep.
And I'm happy to spend a bit more money on it, etc. But I know that we need to live together for a year before we're happy.
Yeah, because I was probably a little bit naive today, where I knew about Sporto, but I'd not known about the shifting, and this is how it works.
Yeah.
And I'm probably like a lot of people.
I'd say most,
kind of go, oh, it's Sporto, it's an automatic.
Yeah.
But they don't realise that there's a shifting experience that goes along with it. It's not drive and the car just does whatever it wants to do. That's not the case.
Yeah, that's right. And you know, you're still doing things that you would normally do, like gearing down.
Yeah, absolutely.
You're not doing that in an auto.
No.
You might be doing it in a tip.
Yes.
But even then, I'd question whether you actually are.
That pushes you back in the seat.
Volkswagen Beetles, and there's one on car sales at the moment. I think they call their version of Sportomatic, I think they call it Autostück, so automatic stick.
I guess people could complain the gear shift isn't as quick as if you were doing it in manual. That but it's marginal, I would have thought.
I would have thought so.
Unless you're Mark Webber.
Well, you tell me. We'll do a bit of driving now.
Yeah, unless you're a Formula 1 driver. Oh, it sounds great as well.
I don't believe, like, if hopefully we'll take the 3.0 for a drive one day and you can see how that performs. I don't believe that I'm any poorer performance-wise when we go driving, whether that's in the mountains or on the track.
No, definitely not.
Because I don't believe I'm at a disadvantage because of Sporto. The only thing that I have a problem with the Sporto is in the first 6 months of ownership, and you're feeling that frustration now, right? That's it. But I know I had that with the Targa, and I know that I got that to a place which is perfect.
Yeah.
And I know this will get there.
Thanks very much, T-Sam, for the tour today. I think, personally, debunked the myth of the Sporto for me. But if anybody's looking at one, or if they have an idea of what one is,
yep,
sit in one, go for a drive, see what it's about, because I think you'll be blown away by the experience. So please drop the video a big thumbs up, subscribe to the channel. Thank you, and may the Sporto live forever.